Right, so Sudhu, we can start. It's 4:32 already,
Okay.
and
Oh, just give me 1 second.
you hear me, Sudhu?
Yes, I do.
So, like I was saying, we can start. I mean, there are two more students yet to join. They are not seen so far. They should have joined by this time, but they're taking a little time. But we shall start.
All right. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Uncle.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is this screen visible?
Yes, Uncle.
The presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the PPT screen is visible. And I will turn off my video so that people will have full scope.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So today I wanted to take a different angle on something that we probably have not spoken in the past. I don't know. I'm sure Manikandan sir has spoken about this, but I haven't yet. And so one thing that is interesting is this is not something that I am preaching without practice. This is something that I go through on almost on a daily basis to deal with your own weaknesses, to deal with your own failures. By no means am I perfect when it comes to dealing with the deficiencies in life. And Manikandan sir knows a lot about it any which ways. So what I wanted to do, and we all go through this, right? It is in our normal human nature to be able to go through life and have a lot of ups and downs, successes and failures. And sometimes we tend to think whatever was a failure or a, in quote unquote in society's name, a failure, we tend to attribute it as it happened because of a weakness. For some reason நம்மளோட வீக்னஸ்னால இது நடந்தது, இது இல்லைன்னா சக்சீட் ஆயிருந்திருக்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிற அந்த ஆட்டிடியூட் வந்துடும் when you see this happening. And then people also tend to tell you that this is your weakness and whatnot. Not to say that you will never have any weakness. No one is perfect. I don't think there is any human being who is perfect enough to say that they don't have any weakness. If you were, then you would not be a human being. You'd probably be what we all call God. But it's super important for us to make friends with your weaknesses and ensure that you know that this is a weakness, and if you choose to work on it and get better at it, or you play at your strengths. There are two ways to go about it. There is no perfect right or wrong answer. The best way is to try as much as possible to convert it into a neutral where it doesn't seem like a weakness, it doesn't bring you down, or if better yet, if you can work on it and make it a strength of your own. Right, but the first step is to acknowledge that you have a weakness, and then find a remedy for it to convert it into either a neutral state where it doesn't hurt you anymore, it doesn't pull you down, or make it a strength of your own. Right? There are many people who've actually done both. And what I want at the end of this session is for you to start thinking in that angle, in that perspective, that you can actually have weaknesses. I have to acknowledge that they are there, and how am I going to work on it? And for that, we just have, again, a fun illustrative way of going about it. Like I said, they can actually be great teachers in life. Failures and weaknesses actually tend to teach you a lot more than success and your strengths. So I want all of you to take like 2 minutes to look at this statement. What I'm trying to do is humanizing the whole or make it more contextual. So just write two statements, only two, which is one will have one weakness and the other will be another weakness. So I want you to articulate your weakness in a simple manner in this particular format. Either I am dash of dash and this prevents me from dash. I've given you an example. For example, I am fearful of heights and this prevents me from visiting great mountains and hills. And that can be anything there in the blanks. That has to be you, your weakness. So take your time and write this down on a piece of paper or whatnot you have. The other way in which you can write it is, my weakness has been that I have or have not been able to dash, and this has dash me to or from something. For example, my weakness has been that I have not been able to speak to a large audience, and this has not allowed me to grow in class. Right? So take, say, 5 minutes to write this down. So we can give them like 5 to 7 minutes to write this down. Just 2 statements, not more than that. And don't make it too complicated. Don't think of too many things. Just write 2 statements. It could be the same weakness. Ideally, it should be 2 different weaknesses that you've identified and write it in 2 different formats. It doesn't have to be in this format, preferably in this, but you could write it in a different format as well. All I'm asking you to do is articulate it in one sentence where you're saying that this is the fear of this, and hence, because of this fear being there, this is what is happening to me, or this is not happening to me. That's all in general statements.
Okay, so as Sidhu mentioned, everybody take some 5 minutes for writing this one, and put your hand up after you've finished writing this, and then Sidhu will continue his intervention. So in order to validate what Sidhu mentioned, you have to write down the answers in the 2 statements. So for example, I'm fearful of heights, and this prevents me from visiting great mountains or hills. And in the weakness, my weakness has been that I have not been able to speak to a large audience. This has not allowed me to grow in class. So what is the clutch that is putting at the back foot? So you will have to find it out, and you will have to basically answer these 2 questions. So if you could look into the session window, the duration is 9:08 now. So you will have time. You set a time to do? Okay, yeah. Fine. So if nobody has any questions, we shall start the timer. Does anyone have questions?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, then the time starts now. So you must have been into halfway through status.
About 1 minute and 15 seconds left, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Vishnu Priya, you're repeating the same again. I want you to have a stable connection. I don't want you to leave and join quite frequently,
Sir,
because that will
power
disturb.
went off, sir. That's why, sir.
Then you have to be ready for all that. எத்தனை online sessions attend பண்ணியிருக்கேன் இந்த 2 வருஷத்துல. I don't want you to leave, because something important is being discussed, and if you are leaving and joining, then how is the continuum going to be? Make sure everything is fixed.
Okay, sir.
All right, boys and girls, time up. Over to you, Sidhu.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, so now we could take like a 15-minute time to discuss. So each of you, I don't know how many are there, sir, right now? Nine students?
10, Sidhu.
10, yeah. Okay, so we could take about 20 minutes. Yeah, if each of you could take like, 2 minutes or so to discuss, to share what you've written. And please keep it short, just do the 2 sentences. That's it.
Okay, so very short, and I would like to start with Dakshin Sidharth. As Sidhu mentioned, make it short.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, good evening, Uncle. I've just got 2 simple sentences which reflect my fears and irritations in life. I'm kind of irritated and uncomfortable when I see blood. So, that prevents me from using things like knife and syringes. So, I don't feel scared, but I feel kind of irritated and uncomfortable. And similarly, I'm also like kind of uncomfortable of certain bugs like cockroaches and stuff. So it's not exactly fear, but I feel that I feel irritated and uneasy when I'm around these things. So thank you, Uncle.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So that's Dakshin Sidharth. And now, Sidhu, last time when you visited, we did not have this person. This person is a new person. His name is Sanjay Bhaskar, and he has joined only a couple of days ago. He's a senior most right now. He's born in 2002. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Sanjay, if you want, you can speak in Tamil, and Sidhu can also understand Tamil.
Hi, Sanjay.
என்னால் பப்ளிக்கில் பேச முடியாது. அதாவது நான் பேச வர்றது கூட எனக்கு தெரியறது கூட சொல்ல முடியாது. நான் அனலைஸ் ஆகி மறந்துடுவேன், பிளாங்க் ஆகிடும், கான்ஃபிடென்ட்டாக இருக்க முடியாது.
Okay, so 2 revelations by Dakshin Sidharth and Sanjay. Now, Mridubhashini.
So Sanjay, sorry, I just wanted to check. Sanjay, ஒரு statement தானா, வேற ஏதாவது இருக்கா?
வேற நான் அடிக்கடி மறந்துடுவேன் சார்.
மறதி ஜாஸ்தி. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so now let's get on with Mridubhashini.
Yes, sir. So I have the fear of speaking in front of the people and audience, which prevents me to participate in more competition. Whereas in my school, many teachers' children will participate and they'll get prizes. When I will not participate, I'll say to my mother that I'm afraid of going and speaking in front of them. Like that. So my mother motivates me, but I didn't speak. I didn't participate in competition. After coming to MS training sessions, I wanted to make presentations in front of my friends, and I want to show my talent to my friends and classmates. But this does not happen because of this online classes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ashmi.
And she has improved a lot, Sidhu. So what you are hearing is the improved version. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
So
next
what
one
I got is only public speaking. There's nothing else that she's mentioned. Only public speaking.
அது நிறைய
Yes,
இருக்கு சித்து.
sir.
அவளுக்கு சித்தப்பா ஒரு சித்தப்பாவா அவளுக்கு என்கிட்ட ஒரு பெரிய லிஸ்ட் இருக்கு. பட் லெட்ஸ் ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் தட் லிஸ்ட் அண்ட் அவளை நான் நெஃப்யூவா பாக்குறது இல்லை இங்க. ஸோ ஷீ இஸ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட். ஸோ அவ சொன்னது மட்டும் இருக்கட்டும். ஜஸ்ட் தட்ஸ் ஒன்.
Okay.
Udayashree Brinda is next.
Okay, sir. So, sir, I have a first statement, sir. So, first, I have a fear of traveling, sir. So, where it's not actually fear, sir. For me, it's like taking very big risks, sir. Because in my childhood days, I got through a lot of travelings, and I took a lot of, like, it may be irritation for me. Nowadays, when they ask about traveling, I'm telling to my mom that I'm not willing to come out my home. So even while I'm studying in Kerala, we have a long bus van to school, so nearly half an hour travel because I am the first person. So that time daily I will get some irritating problem in me. So that's why make me today also when they ask about traveling, I'm very like I'm very afraid to go to a very long drive, and but I'm willing to go to everywhere, but this traveling makes me not to go. So next statement I have written is carelessness, sir. So carelessness, yeah, I will do everything, but I will sometimes in one point of view, even in maths, I faced a lot. So like 1 plus minus, a minute thing I will be nowadays it less, but when olden days, like when in childhood, I do it. So like when I will tell everything, but I will miss a minute thing which I have to tell. So that's what the two statement I written.
Thank you, Udayashree.
Right, that's about Brinda, and now next is Mitra.
So good evening, Uncle. So my answer for the first one is I actually was about to say two fear that I had, Uncle. But initially I'm going to say just one because I have overcame the other fear, Uncle. The fear is I get uncomfortable and somewhat I get afraid if I hear some horrible noises in the night time, Uncle. Like if in the night time, in the midnight, if I hear some horrible sound of something falling down, I get afraid. But I initially, like about 1 year before, Uncle, I had the fear of darkness. Not darkness, if someone comes and stands in front of me, what would I do? But now I have realized that I have overcome that, Uncle, because now I'm able to even survive, and I am ready to wake up in the night and walk somewhere inside the house. I have overcome that. That's my first fear, Uncle. And the second weakness is some important and horror movies. I won't be able to watch it completely in a flow, Uncle. I want someone to sit near me. But some particular movies, Uncle, some particular horror movies, not every horror movies, some particular like that has more thriller and more horror into it. Like mostly it would be in Hollywood films, Uncle. So I am actually afraid of watching some horrible movies. But last week I asked sir for getting me Exorcist movie, Uncle. I'm ready to watch that, but some particular in Tamil industry. That's my weakness, Uncle.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sidhu. She thought that you were a movie analyst or somebody who will give some strategies to how to make movie watching interesting.
It's okay, but there is an underlying fear there. Okay. Thank you, Mitra.
Right.
Thank you.
Who's wanting to speak next? Kalpita Sri is next, and then Vishnu Priya. Kalpita, you're on.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, good evening, sir. So, still now I have analyzed the two weakness, sir. The first one is I sometimes overthink of what would happen next, sir. I think of what would happen if I lost people around me. And not often it is negative, uncle, sir, but I think of positive also. But when I'm going to sleep or when I'm simply sitting, I overthink, uncle. That is the first one. And the second one is, without knowing myself, I sometimes throw tantrums on people around, uncle. I don't know why I'm shouting at them, but sometimes because of unknown reasons I do that. But later I would realize that was wrong and ask apologies to that person.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalpita.
Okay, so now the next person is Vishnu Priya.
Yes, sir. So, good evening, sir.
evening.
So, my fear is about doing speaking, sir, public speaking, like doing presentations. So that stops me from volunteering for presentations and just going and catching hold with everyone. And the second fear that I have is that I'm really afraid of fights and everything. So I would be scared of even watching action movies. So I would not at all watch action movies, uncle. So I have not overcome it still now, but I have just started watching action movies now.
Okay. All right, Vishnu Priya, thank you.
Starting to watch action movies is such a big boost for Indian economy. I am very happy, Vishnu Priya. The economy is going to get completely enhanced and scaled up. Ratan Nitish is next. Ratan Nitish is attending for the first time, Sidhu. He is a 9th grader, Mitra's classmate, and a very promising youngster. Ratan.
Thank you, sir. Hello, uncle. My problem is this ghost sort of memes, uncle. So, in the parks and all, there'll be like some ghostic problems, uncle. If I'm going somewhere dark, I'll be afraid, uncle. And after that, in the park, there'll be like an activity called if you go through this, there'll be dinosaur jump scaring, uncle. So, I'll be scared in those type of place, uncle.
Okay. Fear of ghosts. Anything else, Vitan?
No, uncle.
Okay.
Okay, so we are coming to the last person. His name is Aswathaman, 7th grader. Aswathaman.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my first fear is being alone, sir, especially in the dark. So it prevents me from staying alone at home at night time, sir. Next, I couldn't run faster, sir, because of my I have some flat foot problems, sir, which I'm trying to cure it, sir. This prevents me from getting selected in the sports day, sir. Even my awards, I only got speech awards, sir.
Okay. So, okay, that is the last one is actually quite interesting. You said you can't run fast because you're flat-footed and you're trying to cure it. Okay, maybe that's a different discussion. I don't know how people can cure a flat foot. But anyway, it's a different discussion. I don't want to get into that right now. Thank you, Ashwathaman.
I guess we are done, Sidhu. Abhiyatan, do you have anything to say? Okay.
No, sir.
Yes, I expected that. Thank you. Sidhu, you can start.
All right. Thank you. All right. So what I wanted to do, and something that is sort of a continuation from the previous module itself, is to dehumanize this and make this a thought process from a different perspective again. So now you've all, highlighted your fears. They may not be major fears in life, but for you at this point in time, it definitely feels like the biggest fear, right? I can see, starting from Dakshin, Sidharth irritated and fearful of blood and uncomfortable with bugs. Public speaking is something that has come out common. Traveling was something that's unique. It feels like it's a risk and you're fearful. That's what, Brinda said. Carelessness, that is something that can actually be something that could, stop you from doing well in a lot of things. And like you mentioned, Brinda, if you make careless mistakes in maths, and I used to do this a lot when I was a kid of your age as well, and it just feels like இந்த சின்ன தப்புனால பெரிய ஆன்சர் சரியா வர வேண்டிய ஆன்சர் தப்பாயிருச்சு அப்படின்னு தோணும். So it feels like a big mistake when it's actually quite simple. It's not too much of an issue, but I can understand that that's also a fear. Uncomfortable of horrible noises. Mitra said horror movies, not comfortable watching them. And she's also started working on that, so that's good. Kalpita has mentioned overthinking. That is, I think, something that is common across everyone. I think we tend to overthink a lot. There's very few people who are very quick and decisive and don't overthink. Either or is bad, right? You shouldn't be overthinkers, neither should you be underthinkers where you don't think at all and you just act. I belong to both categories. Sometimes I overthink, sometimes I underthink, and I've never been indecisive. I'm working on that as well for myself. Involuntary tantrums, but you realize and apologize. That's what Kalpita mentioned. Vishnu Priya has mentioned public speaking. Again, that's common. Not liking fights, and hence not being able to watch nice action movies. She's working on that. Ritan mentioned ghost stories and fear of ghosts. Ashwathaman has mentioned being alone, which is also kind of related to being alone, being scared of loneliness, and not being able to run fast. So if you notice, all of these are, in a sense, not unique to you. And that's what I wanted to highlight with this particular slide, where you know, if you note, last time what we spoke about with these superheroes is what were their strengths, right? But what you notice now on the screen is their inherent weaknesses. So how many of you have watched all of the Marvel movies, or at least most of these Marvel movies, enough to know what these characters are? Everyone knows these characters, correct? I didn't ask the last time. Okay. Anyone who's not familiar with any one of these characters? Black Widow is Agent Romanoff. I've not mentioned her name. I just use her common screen name, Black Widow. Okay,
no, almost everybody has.
Got it. Yeah. So, Thor is temperamental. He can get angry very quickly. He's very emotional. He sometimes tends to be the opposite side. He's very easygoing. He doesn't care about a lot of things. Iron Man, extremely independent, and that can be quite a weakness as well, right? He resists from asking help. He just cannot take other people's help, and that's a huge problem. If you want to work in a team, in a group of people, and if you are one of those people who is extremely independent, so independent that you just cannot accept help or can't ask for help either, that's also a weakness. You wouldn't be able to gel with a group of people. Extremely ambitious and hence always thinking positive when you should actually say that, okay, this is the end of it. I should move on. This is not going to work. And so I want to step out of it or move on. Everything in excess. So everyone has weaknesses. It is not unique to you. And all you need to do is just seek help. You are in a group where you can actually discuss these kind of issues and find solutions for it. One person like me or Manikandan sir is not going to be able to give you the exact solution you need to find for your own problems, for your own weaknesses. But as a group, there is so much dynamics that you can have that even these people tend to complement each other. And that's the whole point of the Avengers series, right? So where you actually are part of a group, individually you are limited with your capabilities, but when you join as a group, everyone has a solution for someone else's problem. So I would strongly encourage you to speak to other people and find solutions for your problems or your limitations. Now, the reason why I wanted to show these characters is now that you have written your thoughts, right? For instance, traveling, I am fearful of traveling. Now, I want you to think from your superhero. It doesn't have to be a superhero like this, but someone you look up to. That could be your mother, your father, your sibling, your uncle, someone in the family, Manikandan sir, anyone of your friends, and whom you think have already overcome this fear. So when you think of a particular fear, you are doing that in comparison of someone else, right? I am fearful of the dark comes from the fact that why am I fearful of the dark when everyone else is not? Right? If you are not aware of the fact that people are not aware, scared of the dark, did I say that right? If you think that everyone else is fearful of the dark, it wouldn't be a problem. Am I making sense?
Yes, uncle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to establish is that all the issues that we've spoken, not being able to speak in front of public, comes from the fact that you compare someone else. It could be a person you know or unknown. You've seen them and you say, they are able to, but I'm not able to. I'll give you ghost stories, right? Someone else is not feared of, you've seen your friends watching ghost movies, but you're not able to. So that comparison comes in. But just think from their perspective, what is so different about them? They have overcome different fears as well. It's only a matter of knowing what you miss or what you don't have and working on that. So I like the fact that everyone has actually thought of in some way to overcome a fear. And like I mentioned, all of these superheroes have their own inhibitions and they may not be able to solve it themselves. Some people may be able to do it individually. Some people have to leverage or use the group dynamics to help each other out and find solutions. Something that you have to maintain in school. Once you finish school, you go to college. Once you finish college, you have to go to work or set up something of your own. All of these places, all of these institutions, all of these places that you go to and life that you go through, you will have to work with other people, right, to help them and to seek help from them. One thing that will always work in your favor is if you are ready to ask help. That can only happen after you acknowledge that you have a fear or you have a limiting belief. And once you acknowledge, I'm not perfect, I have this fear or I have this limitation, I need to find a solution. Sometimes you may be able to find it independently by Googling it, by YouTubing it, but you can also ask and seek the help of your peers. So that's something that I want to sort of highlight with the same notion of the superheroes, using other people, their friends, to help them. So many of you must have watched different Iron Man movies where they show his inherent weakness. And it's only because of the group of people, the Avengers or the friends that he has as the network, that they are able to help each other out and save the day for the planet or for humanity on the whole. And we are no different. We need to seek the help of our friends, our peers, our parents, or whoever we can, and get better at whatever you are, sort of limited at this point in time. Right. So that's what I wanted to establish by if your superhero or the person that you idolize were to have this fear, how would they have worked out? It's not something that we can answer in this particular session, but as a takeaway, I would want you to start thinking from that perspective. The person that I idolize, the person that I really like and have compared, or may not like that person because we compared ourselves with them. And that's the reason why we feel bad about it. How would they have solved this problem if they were in my shoe? What have they done? We can actually go and ask them, or we could start simulating it in our head that what would they do if they were us, they were me, and they had this problem. That way, you can slowly start peeling the onion and finding out the actual issue and do away with it. But one thing that you have to do is basically reflect and understand that you are no lesser than any of these supers or any of the people that you consciously or subconsciously compare yourself with. Comparison in itself is not something that is good, but sometimes it can be used to help you, to motivate you and see, okay, how did they go about doing it? Hence, I can do it as well. Right, so that was sort of a simple simulation that I wanted to run today, and wanted you to start thinking from a different perspective altogether. I hope that was valuable and useful.
So, Sidhu, can we have this custom of putting both of your PPTs? Once you finish the PPTs, shall we share the PPT in the group for these people's reference?
That's why I've sent it to you, sir, as a PDF. You can share it with them. Yeah, absolutely.
This one I have. I will put that in the group later after the session is over. But the previous one, I would request you to send it to me so that I
have already sent it to you. Last time also I sent it to you. I can send it again.
You did?
Yeah.
Please, the first one alone.
Sure.
Right, so you must have taken the takeaway of Sidharth. He has given you an assignment. You noted down, right?
Yes, sir.
So he has given the assignment and you need to work on that. So now Sidhu has got another technical thing to be discussed with you. So before that, if you got any questions regarding to what he has made a presentation, you can go. Anybody has a question?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so Vishnu Priya, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Now give a summary of what you learned from Sidhu's presentation. I'll have to check if you have gathered the point correctly. So you go first.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. So, Uncle, it was a very nice presentation, Uncle. And the takeaway that I had was like we have to overcome our weaknesses that we had. If we overcome our weakness, then it would be our life would be very good if we are not having any weaknesses, and everyone we will not have any comparison with anyone, and we'll also be equal to everyone. That's my takeaway.
Can I make a small correction there?
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
Vishnu Priya. Yeah. So through life, and this is 38 years of my existence, and I don't know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I'm sure everyone else has the same angle, right? No matter how long you live, there is never going to be one day where you can say that I don't have any weakness at all. I think that is something that is impossible for human beings to live a life without any weakness. My point was that you will always have weaknesses, but don't let that pull you down. Everyone tends to compare themselves with someone else who has achieved something great in life. Use that to learn from them and not to compare and pull you down, rather to pull you up, and make the comparison from the standpoint that அவங்க இப்படி பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, நானும் அதை பண்ண முடியுமா, இல்லை வேற விதமா பண்ண முடியுமா என்னோட பயத்தை போக்குறதுக்கு. So that was the angle, more than comparing ourselves and pulling us down or living a life without weaknesses. That is just impossible. It will be foolish for us to assume that we will live a life without any weakness. The biggest of the big people across the globe have always had weaknesses, and we can go to length of this universe to describe what are the weaknesses of different people. And that in itself can be a whole presentation, if I may. Even Mahatma Gandhi has had weaknesses. Elon Musk today, who you may be following, has weaknesses. Steve Jobs, whoever you think of, they all have some big or small, many small weaknesses across. And I don't think anyone is an exception to that. Thank you.
Okay, Uncle, thank you.
So, Brinda?
Sir.
In the last slide, Sidhu mentioned about you need to ask your superhero about the weakness. What was the question? And I want you to explain the logic of that slide, specific slide. And with that, he finished the presentation. So could you elaborate on that slide and why, as a presenter, he has to give that slide to you?
Sir, actually it is like solving a solution, sir. So first takeaway from his presentation is we have to overcome the fear, or we have to overcome our weaknesses until unless we acknowledge it, sir. So when we compare our weaknesses, sir, to other, what we will the position, sir. So automatically we will have that responsibility to think what we are, sir. So when we started thinking about it, sure we will get a solution, sir. So with that solution, it might be possible for us to complete our weakness, sir. As sir mentioned, throughout the life there will be a one weaknesses, sir. Each person will have their own weaknesses, sir. So to cure that weaknesses, sir, at least to reduce it, sir, we can even compare with our superhero, sir. As Sidharth sir was mentioned in last PPT, sir, about you have to write your own superhero, sir. Even we can compare it to that also, sir.
So do you want to correct that?
No, that was quite spot on.
All right, okay. Fine. So if you don't have any questions, we'll move on. Dakshin?
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, how come you did not have a question this time around?
Sir, actually, I didn't think, like, I thought that you were asking if there was any technical clarifications during the questions. I thought the main question round is latest.
Now, do you have any question with relevance to the presentation that Sidhu made?
Yes, sir. One question.
Go.
Okay, sir. Good evening, Uncle. So I had one question which was lingering in my mind even much before this presentation was made, Uncle. Like big, let's say big teams, big associations, if they want to be the best in their field, they try to hit out at the weaknesses of their opponents, Uncle, and so that make the opponents crumble under pressure, hit at their weak spots. So is this a good approach to like make use of the weaknesses of our opponents? Is that this kind of approach be useful in the future, Uncle, if we want to be at the top of our field?
So that's a very good question and a valid question as well. So if you've watched any of the movies or any philosophies of any team, I doubt any big team which has been consistently successful would have targeted only the weakness of the opponent and won because of that consistently. I think what has been told in many stories is highlighting that sort of villainous attitude of a winning team. Right? What they don't show is the 90% work that happens on making their strengths 10 times better. Right? Of course, when you work towards, if it is a 1 against 1 and there can be only one winner in that particular competition, you have to know what the weakness of your opponent is and work on that. That is going to give you your strategic lever or strategic advantage at that point in time during the next 90 minutes. And I'm assuming you're talking from the reference of Barcelona's success or any footballing team's success, where you're looking at a particular game that's going to happen in the next 90 minutes, and you have to know. So 1-2 weeks before, you have to do research on what the other team's weaknesses are and make sure that you exploit it. But no team, let alone Barcelona or any other team, Indian cricket team, can be successful by looking at only other people's weaknesses and targeting that. I think that will be only 5 to 10% of their strategy. The remaining 90 to 95% of the strategy would be working on their own weaknesses and growing their strengths. So yes and no. Yes to 5% of your time and work can be attributed to target the opponent because it's a 1:1 or 1 against the other kind of a competition, right? And that's where you can have the strategic leverage or the strategic advantage. But I don't think that can be your 90% focus. If you focus on everyone else's strength, weakness all the time and play at that, you're not going to be able to get better at whatever you are doing. So it might give you a short advantage in a short amount of time. You may succeed, but that's definitely not a foolproof and a long-term strategy. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, uncle. Thank you, uncle.
All right. Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. So Kalpita, go.
Okay, sir. Uncle, that was a very informative presentation that we had today. So my question is, this is an opinion-based question, Uncle. We have seen a lot of people saying strengths are more important than weakness, and weakness are more important than strengths. Like if you want to achieve something, you have to focus on both your strengths and weakness. What would you like to say to those people who continuously work only on their weaknesses and never care about their strength, uncle? Because I have seen a lot of people who focuses only on their negative part and not on their positive side. What would you like to say to them, uncle?
So thank you. Who asked the question, sir?
Kalpita, uncle.
Kalpita, all right. Hi, Kalpita. Sorry.
Kalpita.
All right. Yeah, so Kalpita, interesting question. Again, I will draw from the answer I gave previously to Dakshin, right? Dakshin asked the question, and similar to that team dynamic question, this is more from a personal dynamics, right? You're talking about what if I, spend 90% of my time working on my weakness and 10% of the time working on my strengths. It's a very simple question to answer. What would happen if you were to say, for instance, for the next 3 years, your weakness is maths and your strength is physics, or that's not possible. If your weakness is maths and your strength is, say, chemistry, right? That's also possible to a certain degree. And for the next 3 years, your focus is completely on maths. And you say, 3 hours spent pandrena, 2.5 hours I'll spend on math, and only half an hour I'll spend on chemistry for the next 3 years. What would happen at the end of the 3rd year? What will happen with your math performance versus your chemistry performance? I think answering that would give you your answer.
Yes, uncle. For the thing I worked, I'll get the benefit, uncle.
Correct. And for the one that you didn't work, you would actually lose up. Right? There is only so much that half an hour can give you as opposed to 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. I'm not saying you have to spend equal amount of time on both, but you have to be the best judge on what you focus on at that point in time. If you think that something is your weakness, give enough time to focus on it and make sure that you are working on that weakness to convert it either into a neutral that doesn't pull you down or to make it a strength. And for you, sometimes you have to be the personal judge, right? That if you think you want to be a physician, a physicist, not a physician, someone who actually is an astrophysicist, someone who wants to work with the planets and work on astrophysics and stuff, then physics alone is not enough. You have to be super, interested in math and good at maths as well. And if you are good at chemistry right now, that means you have to work on your math. So chemistry can be given, say, 40% of the time because you already are good at it. but 60% of the time you may have to dedicate towards bettering your mathematics skills. And that's all subjective to what you want to achieve in the long run as well. There is no cookie cutter perfect answer for everyone. It has very subjective elements to it. It has to be your own answer.
Okay, Uncle, thank you.
Sudha, perhaps the last question. Mitra has a question.
Sure.
Uncle, every one of us must have seen some situations where many people would bully others with their weaknesses, Uncle. They might bully and harass others like, you're not good in this, you're very bad in this, and that might hurt that respective person, Uncle. So from your perspective, what do you think about it, your point of view about that circumstance, Uncle?
As to how you should deal with it, Mitra?
Yes, Uncle.
Okay. So let me draw a parallel from movies also. I can't think of any particular scenario, but so the best way to tackle that kind of a scenario is for you to, one is to ignore, and two, which is even tougher, ignoring in itself is almost impossible because it's almost in your face, right? The person's actually trying to pull you down by highlighting your weakness. And if you actually think about it, the reason why they are doing that is because they are comparing them with you and want you down, want to pull you down so that they can feel better about it. So one is to ignore. The moment you start ignoring, that habit will come down. Right? The other thing that you can do, and it may be even more tough, is to feel bad for them. Internally, you don't have to mock them. You don't have to say anything. Don't react. But feel the pain for them that they are having to do this to make themselves feel better. So that automatically gives you the leverage that you are in some way affecting them psychologically, and they are having to do this to pull you down. That means you are already on top. In some way, you are better than them in some manner that they're trying to pull you down. So one is to the base level you should be doing is probably ignore. And the other thing that you can do is go one step ahead and feel bad for them inside and hope that they get better. That's both of these are extremely tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is the only way that you can tackle it. Going, head to head with them and trying to mock them or trying to play at their weakness is not going to be a strategy that will help. Right? There is no difference between you and them after that.
Thank you so much, Uncle.
Sir, please add on. I don't know if I'm giving you right answers, so please, I would want you to add on wherever it's relevant. All of these situations are.
No, the answers that you have given thus far were so correct. And if it requires some addition, you know me, I'll definitely come and pitch in, and I'll also try to validate your answer and also try to give addition to your answer.
And correct me if I'm wrong as well.
I'm pretty satisfied with the answers that you have given, so no problem, no problem. Any other questions before we get to the last phase of Sidhu's presentation? All right, okay. So apart from this presentation, the two presentations that Sidharth Vijayan had given to you will be reaching the group after the class today. I want you to keep it safe and make it as a future reference if you want. Now, Sidhu wants to speak about cryptocurrencies and the blockchain methodology, which is very trendy now, and he basically feels that the youngsters should be knowing that. So over to you, Sidhu, all over again. Come on.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so this is something that is out of topic, and I just got permission from sir if I can discuss this because there will be some extra time after the session. And that's something that I want, all of you as youngsters and the future of the country and the world. I don't like to talk about India as the greatest country on the planet. I don't subscribe to that thought process at all. I think we as a humanity should try to get better at whatever we are doing in life and whatnot. And something that has sort of revolutionized a lot of thought processes, the whole invent of the blockchain technology. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have been exposed to this, but I want you to do a little bit of research and find out what blockchain is, what cryptocurrencies are. Right? I'm not sure if any of you is exposed to this kind of technology or this has done any research on it, but I want you to think from I wanted to think from the standpoint that we have so many different institutions, right? We have banks, we have governments, we have educational institutions, and all of them have run a very long life in our existence as humanity. Right? Hundreds and thousands of years we know of education systems, hundreds and probably not thousands, but hundreds of years of banks and governments that have existed in our life. But the whole concept of say a bank, the need for a bank is because if I have 500 rupees and I'm giving Manikandan sir 100 rupees out of it, if there is no digital record, a proper digital record, I can say I've given 100 rupees to Manikandan sir, but the same 100 rupees I can go and give it to, say, Dakshin Sidharth, because there is no way for someone to prove to me that, digitally speaking, they can't prove to me that, or prove to everyone else that Sidharth gave the same 100 rupees to two different people, because it's digitally transacted through a mobile or a computer. If I were to send Manikandan sir 100 rupees, if no one is centrally taking account that Sidharth had 500 rupees first, 100 rupees is gone, so now he has only 400. And from that 400, he can give another 100 to Dakshin, not from the same 500 which he's exhausted 100 of. Is everyone with me so far?
Yes, uncle.
Okay, all right. So
Yes, uncle.
this is essentially why we needed banks, right? There is a central authority which actually is accounting for what Sidharth had from the start. And Sidharth has now given 100 rupees. He now has only 400. From that, only can he give 100 to Dakshin. Whereas if the central authority were not there, I could be saying that I'm giving 100 rupees to Manikandan sir and then the same 100 rupees to Dakshin Sidharth. And I still will hold 400 rupees. Whereas instead, I should be holding only 300 rupees. So that's the main reason for a bank to exist. And all these big institutions like the central banks of countries where we have the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, and so many other institutions across the globe. Each country has its own monetary authority. For us, it's the RBI. Now, the blockchain technology has come and said, this is a peer-to-peer network where there is no need for a central trust authority. You and I have digital money today, and each of us can hold a simple ledger. Passbook concept everyone knows, right? Everyone knows that when you go to maybe not, you guys might not have seen a passbook for all you know. For all I know, I think even I've not used a passbook per se, but our parents and our grandparents have actually gone to banks and they have a notebook in which each of the transactions are printed. Today, it's all digitally available where you have your entire transaction list can come as a statement. But imagine this statement where all the transactions are listed in one document, and this document holds all transactions that all of us have done, and everyone has a copy of this ledger. This is what is called a decentralized ledger. For instance, this transaction that I sent 100 rupees to Manikandan sir, and then after that I sent 100 rupees to Dakshin Sidharth. These two transactions are copied into one book. And the same way Manikandan sir must have sent 100 rupees to, say, Mitra has sent 100 rupees to Sanjay, and all of these transactions are copied in this one book, and all of us who are part of the network have the same copy of the book. Thank you. Yeah, that's a passbook. So imagine this ledger is accessible for everyone, as in everyone has a copy of all the transactions that have happened in this entire chain of network. So now I cannot cheat anyone because whatever transactions I've made is on this book and everyone else in the network has this book. Same way Manikandan sir cannot say that, I have given it to Mitra, but you are saying, no, I didn't give, because the entire list of historical transactions is there on this book, which is there on multiple computers across the globe. These are called nodes, right? So this is bringing down the need for a central authority. There no longer needs to be a bank or any central authority to say, okay, Sidharth had 500 rupees, now 100 rupees is gone, he has only 400 rupees. Everyone in the network can act like a bank. And that's why the blockchain technology has made the whole concept of decentralization, meaning there is no need for a central authority to control and to say, yes, this transaction was legitimate, that transaction was not legitimate. And that's changing the dynamics of how we do banking, how we do many things. Banking is just the start of the revolution. And if you have been following the news or your parents are following the news, there will be a lot of talk about crypto being banned in India, right? So I want you to start engaging in conversations with your parents and asking them, what is the fear? And I want you to do your research as well. This is not simple, but you are the future of the world, the country and the world. And I want you to start thinking and researching about it and having conversations with your parents. Don't turn it into a debate. Don't turn it into a fight. I want you to educate yourself first and have conversations with your parents around what is this whole concept of cryptocurrency. And if we have time next time around, or if there's a session that you want me to conduct, I'm open to having that as well. So banking is the first. Education is also changing in that particular manner. If you notice now, big universities are selling courses online. Some of them are giving their courses for free, where they're decentralizing the authority. You Stanford course online, you can have free courses as well, and you'll get a certificate at the end of it. So they're decentralizing their authority, and a lot of these applications are going to come out where people are selling artwork on decentralized networks, so on and so forth. So that's something that I wanted you to be aware of. Do a little bit of research. One term that you could start off with is, what is Bitcoin? What is this cryptocurrency movement and stuff? Thank you. That's about it. I just wanted to expose you and start getting you to think about this, which is the future.
Right, Sidhu. So I totally agree with that, because these people have started dealing with having a savings bank account at this age. It so happened that recently in the US batch, I had to give some cash awards for their performances. And 2 or 3 people in the US batch very easily said that, sir, your cash award, I can use it as a saving. I wanted everybody to buy something out of that cash, but they said that, sir, I would like to have it in my bank account. I thought it was their father or mother's account. They said, no, I have my own account. So with that being the trend, this cryptocurrency and the concept of blockchain should be thoroughly known. And I'll make sure that the people are making some research on it and get a better idea on it.
Sure. Awesome.
Thank you so much for making a presentation on the uncle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Uncle.
This is your future.
Thank you, Uncle.
Sure. Please.
Any other views or any other additions to Sidharth's presentation and the final input that he has given on the cryptocurrencies?
No, sir.
Right. Okay. So, Sidhu, we will have the use batch on Saturday morning. That is day after tomorrow, early morning at 4:30.
Got it.
Right. Any other points you would like to mention, Sidhu?
No, that will be it. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Okay. And Sidhu, I normally have the habit, whenever I involve my co-trainers, I will ask the beneficiaries to give the feedback. So after how many sessions do you look forward for a feedback? I know asking these people to give a feedback, a written feedback after 2 sessions is a little bit too early.
Yeah.
So when do you think that you should be in a stance to receive their feedback?
Maybe after the end of the next month, meaning 2 more sessions at least. 4 sessions.
Okay. Right. So any clue you would like to give me on which area you are working for next?
I was thinking on procrastination. I think that is something that we can deal with. Any pointers would be helpful if that is a good topic or not.
Okay. I want you to have fresh insight. That is why I never come into giving ideas. இதை பத்தி பேசுங்க, அதை பத்தி பேசுங்க அப்படின்ட்டு நான் ஒரு பாத் போட்டு அதுக்குள்ள நீங்க வாங்கன்னு எனக்கு சொல்றதுக்கு விருப்பமே இல்லை. நீங்க ஒரு வேற லைன்ல போங்க. Freedom is completely yours. நீங்க ஒரு schedule of events நீங்களே prepare பண்ணிட்டு you have better way of explaining things than me. That's what I have observed. Very simple, lose it. I have thoroughly enjoyed your presentation as well. So
thank you.
Even in the personality அது நல்லா reach out. That's the kind of the generation advantage that you have.
Thank you, sir.
Right, Sidhu. So thank you so much, Sidhu. It was very helpful. Each time I see the superheroes pictures in the presentation, I get more excited and enthusiastic because I myself am a great fan of all those. I will make sure and I will follow up that these people are working on your line until your next session.
Sounds good, sir. And I'll send the PDF for the previous this one today.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye. Have a great
Bye.
day. Great weekend.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Uncle.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Uncle.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Uncle.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, Uncle.
Does everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, இருக்கியாடா தூங்கலையா பாடுறா பரவாயில்லையே சிபி ஆகிட்டும் தூங்காம இருக்கான் சிபி
சார்
என்ன சொன்னாரு சித்தார்த் என்ன புரிஞ்சுது
சார் அப்ப எனக்கு தோணுச்சு சார் நம்மளுக்கு இதே மாதிரி ஒரு கெட்ட ஃப்ரெண்ட் வந்துட்டாங்கன்னா நம்மகிட்ட குட் மேனேஜ் காமிச்சு நம்ம ஃப்ரெண்ட் ஆனதுக்காக பேட் மேனேஜ் நம்மகிட்ட காமிப்பாங்கன்னு
நீ என்னமோ சொல்ற ஆனா எனக்கு என்னன்னா தெரியல உனக்கு
கொஞ்சம் என்ன வார்த்தை பேசினான்னு கேட்டுச்சு நான் என்ன பேசினான்னு புரியல
நிதேஷ்
சார்
ஏடா நீ கண்ணாடியில பார்த்து பயந்துட்டு அங்க போய் எதுக்குடா அவன்கிட்ட பேயை பார்த்து பயமா இருக்கு நீ கண்ணாடியை பாக்குறது குறைச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா பேய் பயம் போயிடுது நீ எதுக்கு அவன்கிட்ட பேசிட்டு இருக்கிற அதை பத்தி
Sir, I sit in the park, sir. I particularly sit in park, sir.
பார்க்கலையா
Sir, in the water parks, there will be like
oh
places which we can walk to. There will be jump scaring dinosaurs. I don't like those, sir.
ஏண்டா டைனோசர் மறுபடியும் எப்படி அழியும் அது ஏற்கனவே உன்னை பாக்குறதுக்கு முன்னாடி அழிஞ்சிருச்சு அப்படியே வந்தாலும் உன்னை பார்த்து அழிஞ்சிடாது நீ எதுக்கு அதை பார்த்து பயப்படுற அதுக்கு தானே உன்னை பார்த்து பயப்படணும் சரி விடு ரைட் ஓகே Okay, boys and girls, now we are getting on with the next serious scenario, which is actually your credit rating system. And we exactly have 1 hour left in the session. So first of all, let us have a legitimate kind of a discussion about your credit rating system. I was taking stock of all the classes videos this time around. And one second.
Sir, within you start sharing, sir, can you go down and